Are you a dreamer? Do you know that there's something more for you out there? Well, stay tuned because we're going to talk about how the world needs dreamers more now than ever before. Welcome everybody. So thank you for joining Hero Life Hump Day Alive. Today is September 30th and we are cruising through. We're in fall, we're gonna be in October tomorrow, and then crazy holiday season, which is gonna be different than perhaps ever before. So we're gonna see what's gonna happen, but I'm gonna cross my fingers and things are gonna be good. Things are gonna be good. Different, but good, which is fine. So yes, my name is J. Scott MacMillan. I am a life coach. I'm an author, and I wrote the book, Be the Hero of Your Life, to help people get unstuck when they're in that period of life where they've had some ups and downs, they've been successful, they've done some really good things, but they're stuck in a rut now. And they know there's more for them out there than what their life's experiencing now. And that was really my life story. And I worked through a process with people in books and theories, and I have a degree in psychology, and I wrote this book to help people get out of that stuckness and to really find their purpose and their passion and then go out and live their dream life. That sounds a little Pollyanna, but it's true, because if you follow the techniques in my book and in my coaching, I can help guide you to living that life that you've really always dreamed of, where you're free, you've got a purpose, you're on point, and really you can't wait to get out of bed every morning because you're gonna go help people and you're gonna be living your passion and dream. In fact, somebody asked me yesterday, says, how do you stay focused during all this crazy time that's going on right now? And I said, for me, I feel really lucky because I feel like I'm really called now, especially during this crazy time, to help people to eliminate their fears, to keep their immune systems strong. And for me, I'm living my purpose now, is helping people to get past their fears and to move forward in life, even though life seems like it's coming in on us at some points. So living on your passion and your purpose is definitely doable. It's what I'm doing in my life, what I'd like to help you do in your life. So if you would like some help taking your own hero's journey and moving your life forward, contact me and we'll see what we can do. So today, interesting topic. This is a topic that I'm not hugely really familiar with. It's not something I wrote about in my book, really. Although it's really about being you, genuinely you. And I use the word dreamer because if you think that it's possible that you can do better, that the people around you can do better, that the community, the country, and the world can do better, then you're one of the dreamers that the world needs now. And if you don't know if you are a dreamer or how to then use that wish and hope to move forward, it's as simple as being uniquely you, being genuinely you. So we're going to talk about what that is. We're going to unpack some. So as I mentioned, if you're the kind of person that thinks that we all could be doing better, that you could do better, and that the people around us could do better, the country could do better, the world could do better, and that you're a dreamer, that you know that we can all do better. And you're wondering, but how can we do that? Well, the dreamers are the ones that have always changed the world, right? It's always been the dreamers that have gone on to change the world. It's those people that just unapologetically have been themselves. They don't sit around and worry about what other people think. They don't sit around and think about who they are, because they know who they are. And they've done the work to be as unique as they can be. If it's silly, if it's crazy, whatever it is. But by being you, gives you the power then to go out and do amazing things in the world. So part of the problem that we also don't go out and do what we need to do because of fear, of course. But part of it is that we really believe that the reality that we live in right now is real. And it's really a lie. Do you hear that? The reality that we're all living in right now is a lie. So stay with me. Stay with me. What I mean by that is that we know now from science that the chair you're sitting on, the chair I'm sitting on, this table that looks and feels solid is not. It's 99.9999% space. What? Yeah, it looks and it feels solid, but science tells us that it's moving, that it's molecules and particles that are and waves that are moving all the time. So if we know that science tells us this, but we are fooled by our senses, then what else are we fooled by? We're probably fooled literally by everything that we perceive with our senses in the world. So the reality that all of the stuff we see and that we hear and that our senses pick up is all that there is out there. And when you look at what science tells us now about the atom, about molecules, about quantum physics, we understand that that's not the true reality. So if we can extrapolate that even further, what if every limitation that you've ever thought you had really was just a gift of power that you really didn't recognize yet, you didn't understand yet? Because really the reality that we think is real is really just perpetuated by the media, by our parents, by the media, by teachers and professors. But that's just what they're telling us, and we are experiencing this with our senses. But if you can go beyond that and realize that that may not be the real reality, and that there may be so much more potential for you and for us out there, that really you're unlimited, that you're an infinite being living in an infinite world, in an infinite universe. And if that's the case, what could you do? What could actually happen if you really didn't play by what I'll call the three-dimensional or 3D world that everybody else says is out there is real? And that if you realize that you are infinite, that you don't have to play by those rules. You don't have to play by the rules that everyone else has. Now, people may think you're weird or strange or whatever. What if you embrace that weirdness, the strangeness, as you, as the authentic you, and then realize that you lived in this infinite world, that you really could have anything you wanted, that you could have it all. So I'm going to ask you this question. If you really bought in and believed that you were an infinite being and you knew you could have it all, what would you have? What would you do if you knew that you really could have whatever you wanted? And so this gets into a little bit of the manifesting world, which I talk about. But I'm really talking more about getting in touch with who you are and not worrying about the outside world and the power that comes from that. So basically, really what I'm just trying to do is give you a different perspective. I work with my clients, and one of the things that life coaches in general do, and that I do with my clients, I tell people that I'm really here to give you some new perspectives that you may or may not have heard before, or you may have understood. So I help people give new perspectives. They don't have to take it. But most of the time when I work with people, they'll get a new perspective, like, oh, I didn't think of that, or I didn't know that, or this event that happened in my life, I didn't understand how that affected me. So it can be very powerful, just having a new perspective. If you have never thought about this before, stick with me and think about this a little bit. And maybe this week or this weekend, if you could think just a little bit that the reality that you think is the world and everything that matters may not be true. That there may be another reality. There may be this reality where you're an infinite being and you can have anything and everything you want. And that's not a selfish thing, by the way. It doesn't mean like, oh, I'm going to have all these cars and all this stuff. I mean, you could, but in reality, what would that really get you? I mean, But if you knew this, if you knew that you were infinite and that you could do and think and be and create anything you wanted in the world, what could we do? How could we, if we got a team of us together that got out there and did this, what could we do? How could we change the world? I mean, it's pretty amazing to think about. And it's really about the energy. So when I talk about that, I'm talking about, we know that everything is energy, right? Again, quantum physics and science tells us that everything is energy, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions. This table is energy and movement, even though it looks solid, but it's not. So that everything is energy. So if you can tap into the energy of what it is to be you, to be the energy of uniquely you, and what that feels like, and how we're all connected in the universe, and how our energetic signatures can connect with other people. I've talked about this before on the show. Then we can start to live into and learn into what that could be. Again, being infinite, being the energy of us, of you, energy of you. And really, it's just a willingness to think about this, and to willingness to say, okay, well, that's kind of weird. I hadn't really thought about that, but okay, let's entertain that. And part of it is to really get quiet through meditation or prayer. And when you shut the outside world out, you really do start to feel like you are an infinite being, and that you are connected in the energy of everybody and everything else in this. So you guys still with me? See, I might have lost a couple people. That's all right. That's all right. Maybe they'll come back and watch the replay. And maybe they're out there thinking now, what does it mean to be me? Who am I? As a former thinker, meaning I tried to think my way out of everything, one thing I've learned about this topic for sure, but really most topics in self-help and self-development, is you really can't think your way out of it, or think your way into this new feeling. It's about the energy, it's about feeling it. So that's why meditation and shutting the world out is so important, because then it allows you to really find that essence of you bubble up. And really, if people could think their way out of this, or think their way into helping the world be a better place, then we would have done this before, right? So we really need to embrace the concept of pushing the outside world away, the concept of that what our reality we think is real may not be, and that we're infinite beings that really can have anything and everything. And really, I'm going to ask it again. Have you ever, if you could have it all, what would you have? What would you pick? So one of the areas that blocks us from even believing that this is a concept, or believing that we can do anything in the world or in our community, or even sometimes in our own lives, is the limiting beliefs that were created when we were young. And these were beliefs that were created from events that happened in trying to protect us and keep us safe when we were really little. Sometimes, from 0 to 6 years old, but also other times throughout your life where you've had to protect yourself, and you've created a belief that I can't do this ever again, or this is never going to happen to me again, or whatever. And you carry that with you in adulthood, and they begin to sabotage you. Now, these are all subconsciously, so you're not really conscious of what happens, but you'll get triggered by events that happen today back to these limiting beliefs. And so when I work with clients, I help them identify what those are, so we can realize that as adults, they don't exist, that they're not real. It's the same thing with this reality. It's this belief that everyone has told us that this table is solid. And I keep coming back to that because it's the simplest explanation and metaphor that I can use to help you understand that the reality that we see and we experience with our senses every day is not real. It's really just the illusion that we create in our minds. So when you think about that and you understand that, then you understand that, if that's the case, I have the power then to create whatever I want, whatever reality that I want. And so I'm offering for you to think about you being an infinite being with infinite powers and infinite abilities. And if we're infinite, then what of the realities that we think are here that are pushing us, and we feel this pressure of the pandemic and all the crazy stuff going on in the world today, what if it just isn't real? meaning that we can choose on how to think about it, how to deal with it. And we can choose, okay, that's this over here, but I'm going to choose to focus on this over here. What can I do? And if I really am infinite and I can have whatever I want and do whatever I want, well, then I'm going to choose to help the world and to be a better place. How can I do that? And it just gets you thinking in this positive direction. And you have a choice. Do you want to focus on that, which can make you feel really good and powerful, or on the reality that's kind of sucky right now that we see on TV and the news and the media? I choose to play in the infinite world where I've got power and I know who I am, and I'm choosing to focus on me and who I am. And that's, again, it's not a selfish thing. It's my power. And I'm choosing to then go out every day and use that power in a positive way. So that is the power of believing that we're infinite beings. But to really embrace that, you might have to let go of some really hard and beliefs that we've believed for a very, very long time in the reality that's out there now. So really, are you ready to start embracing life on your own terms instead of letting the outside world dictate who you are and how you're going to behave? And could you really embrace this completely different view of life, really? And again, come back to the chair on the table that's 99.999% space, and yet you think, and everyone else around there thinks it's solid. And to always come back to that thought when you're being bombarded by the world and you realize, you know what? All this stuff is 99.9999% space anyways. Well, why don't I just choose to push that away, focus on being an infinite being. And if I could be infinite, I could have whatever I wanted. What would I do? Who would I contact? Who would I hang around with? So I love the chair metaphor. And so what if all your limitations were the same thing too? All that limitation of why you can't do things really was an illusion too, right? So again, if you're an infinite being, living in an infinite world, in the universe, and you don't have to play by the rules really of that reality that everybody thinks. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about doing anything crazy, bad, you get me. People here, they get me. If you don't have to play by those rules, then you can play by the infinite rules. And what amazing things could you create from that perspective? So I invite you to think about that concept. And if you have some resistance, to go back and look at where did some of these limiting beliefs get created? Where did some of these beliefs that keep me stuck and that keep us grounded in this reality that is sometimes really hard and negative? Now, I understand that we do have to live, we have three-dimensional bodies, we have to live in this three-dimensional world. I'm not saying to be, all woo-woo and burn incense all day and chant. We have to deal with life. But if you can deal with that life from the perspective of that you're an infinite being, and that everything you think might be real and sometimes oppressive isn't, and you think about that chair that's 99.999% space, then maybe you can come up with some new perspectives, and maybe you'll behave a little bit differently. And maybe the next day won't look quite as bad or feel quite as bad as potential. Now, I'm not asking you to give yourself up, create something brand new. You never give up the essence of you. And this is why I always come back into you. Who are you at the core, at the heart? And you don't give that up. You're giving up the perspective that everything in the world is the way the media or the way your professors or your teachers or your parents have taught you. It doesn't have to be that way. The reality isn't necessarily that way. So doors will start to open up when you start to have these kind of different perspectives and you start to reject the reality that everyone says is true. New things, new doors, new people, new events will start to happen in your life. When I started to understand this concept, and for me it came from receiving, because I was blocking off receiving. I was receiving love, I was blocking receiving love, I was blocking receiving money, I was blocking receiving maybe people in my life. And when I understood that I was an infinite being and that I could have it all and not in a selfish way, I started to lean into this. Things started popping. A person came back into my life that was an acquaintance, and she had an idea one day to start a cryotherapy business. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, cryotherapy. And she's like, well, come try one. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. Once I realized it was sitting in this cold chamber, freezing your butt off. But she had this idea, and she says, look, I think that we could start this business. Do you want to go in with me? I'm like, well, I don't know. I guess so. I knew that she was a powerhouse, that whatever she set her mind to, she was going to succeed in. So I just went with the flow and said, okay, I'm going to receive this. We'll see what happens. In the short span of about 3 months, we've now put together a cryotherapy and health solutions business that will be opening up here in a couple months. And I've tried cryotherapy. I got addicted to it. You stand in this chamber and you get really, really cold, but it's only 3 minutes and you can hack 3 minutes. And you come out of there feeling so empowered, so like, just like I did that. And you burn like 200 calories in 3 minutes because your body had to go through that, cold and then expands with the blood flowing to your extremities. Really, really good for inflammation and health, but I digress. But the point is that just came out of my life. I started to receive that. Then I've been working on some online courses and some group coaching for my coaching programs. I've been focusing on getting my book out there. And I haven't really been focusing on getting one-on-one clients that much. And all of a sudden, because I'm in this receiving mode, 2 new clients just walk into my life. Out of the blue, one person read my book, said, loved your book, thought it was great. Can I do some sessions? Yeah. He's in California. We're doing them over Zoom. Another client says, I've been thinking about doing some sessions. I knew you're a life coach. Yeah, so we're doing it here locally. And many other examples of just opening up to being an infinite person and just receiving and not feeling guilty about it, and knowing that when I receive, it's because I'm open to the good of it and that I'm helping people. And that concept of receiving for me was really big. But it also started with, I don't have to believe in this reality that seems oppressive to me now, and I can't get out and I can't meet people and I can't do whatever because of the pandemic. And I found other ways to flourish and to open up and to be an infinite person in an infinite universe with having it all, having whatever I really wanted. So the last part of this then is then to determine, what do you really want? If you're really being you and you live in an infinite universe, you can have whatever you want. What do you really want? I mean, you can list the cars and the houses and that kind of stuff. That's fine. But what do you really want to happen with your life? How do you want to wake up? How do you want to feel? And so I went down and I got very specific on that. And things are starting to pop in life. And so this is the message I wanted to leave with you. And so I would also say that if you're at all wanting to try this out, first thing is to do is to get quiet through prayer or meditation. Or just, yesterday I actually went out. I'm going to post some pictures today. I wanted to exercise, but my left ankle is still kind of messed up. I haven't been able to do that. And I didn't really want to walk on it. So I got on my bike. I rode up just a little ways up the street to a little pond, and there's some ducks and geese in there. And I just sat there. I took my shoes off so I could get my feet in the earth. And I just sat there and watched these ducks, and there's a little fountain. And instead of necessarily going into a deep meditation, I just took that scene in and let the world fade away. And it was very therapeutic. And that's just a way, is when you kind of push out the outside world, then you can really understand who you are and what you really want in your essence. And so for me, it's about feeling powerful, feeling energized, feeling like I can make a difference, that I can help people. It's God's gift to us that when we're helping other people, we just feel super good. And it's a good pattern to be in, for sure. So I'm going to ask the question, what is in your way of finding the energy and the essence of you that can make you feel powerful and infinite? And so we're going to get quiet and ask yourself, what can I do better? What can we do better as a country, as a group, as a world? Pause and take a big breath, and then believe that you're an infinite person living in it, or infinite being living in an infinite universe. And then start to get specific on what you want if you could have it all. So the next time we'll talk about a little bit more in how we can identify what we want, and get specific, so we can work with the universe now to co-create what we want. So we'll talk about that in some future. So if you'd like some more information on this and dive in a little deeper, if this sparked your interest at all, and you're like, I'm not sure what he's talking about, but sounds kind of interesting, connect with me. PM me, DM me, send me an email, call me up. I think all my contact info is on my website, jscottmacmillan.com. And let's talk about this more. It's an area that's a little bit new to me, and I'm leaning into it. And I'll just leave it then with remember, the table, the chair that you're sitting on is not solid. It's 99.99999% space. All right, well, I'm gonna leave you with that. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm going to get out there and see what kind of infinite craziness I can get into today. And I invite you to get into some infinite craziness yourself. So until next time, I'll see you next week on Hero Life Hump Day. Thanks. Bye, everybody.